Rain poured like glass shards, slicing through the freezing night. A woman in torn jeans and a thin gray sweater huddled beside the road, clutching her sleeping baby close to her chest. The streetlight flickered overhead, casting pale light over her trembling hands. Cars passed, splashing icy water, but none slowed. Her lips quivered as she whispered to her child, "Just a little longer, sweetie. Mommy's here." Then, a black SUV rolled to a stop nearby. The back door opened, and a little girl's voice, soft, curious, full of warmth, broke through the rain. "Daddy, can we help her, please?" Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The rain softened into a mist as the SUV's headlights dimmed. A man in a navy suit stepped out, tall, early 40s, the kind of presence that turned heads without trying. He was Daniel Carter, single father, CEO of Carter Robotics, a company that built hope out of innovation. But tonight, standing in the rain with his 8-year-old daughter Lily watching from the window, Daniel wasn't thinking about business. He saw the woman, late 20s, soaked to the bone, hair matted, face pale under the streetlight. Her arms cradled a baby swaddled in a hospital blanket. For a moment, their eyes met. Fear flickered in hers, but behind it, something stronger, shame. "Ma'am," Daniel said softly, pulling off his coat. "You'll freeze out here." I'm fine," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Please don't call the police. I'll leave soon." "I'm not calling anyone," he assured, stepping closer. "You look like you need help." The baby stirred, coughing weakly. Daniel's heart twisted. Lily's voice called from inside. "Daddy, please, let's bring them in. The baby's cold." That broke her last bit of resistance. She nodded, tears mixing with rain. Daniel opened the car door, and Lily gently reached out a small hand. "Hi," she said shyly. "I'm Lily. You can sit next to me." Inside the SUV's warmth, the woman held her baby tighter, as if afraid the kindness might disappear. Daniel turned up the heat. "What's your name?" "Emily," she whispered. "Emily Brooks." "And your baby?" "Grace." Lily leaned forward, eyes wide. "She's so tiny." Emily smiled faintly for the first time in days. They drove through the city in silence, broken only by Grace's small breaths and the hum of the engine. Daniel glanced at Emily through the mirror. Dirt smudged her cheeks, but her posture was protective, graceful, like someone who once had a life before it fell apart. When they pulled into the underground garage of a modern glass high-rise, Emily hesitated. "I can't go in there," she murmured. "This looks expensive." Daniel smiled gently. "Don't worry about that. Everyone needs a place to start again." Upstairs, Lily ran ahead, grabbing blankets from the couch. "Daddy, can I help her baby too?" Daniel nodded. "You already are." Emily stood in the doorway, overwhelmed. The penthouse smelled of coffee and cinnamon, its warm lighting spilling over framed photos of Lily. It didn't feel like wealth. It felt like peace. As she sat down, Daniel returned with tea. "You're safe here," he said. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." He met her eyes. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it." Emily stared at him, realizing this man, this CEO, carried his own scars. Outside, thunder rumbled. Inside, a quiet kindness began to stitch two broken worlds together. The tea steamed between Emily's hands, and for a long moment the only sound was the quiet click of rain against the balcony glass. Lily had curled up at the other end of the couch with a fleece throw and an earnest seriousness that made her look older than 8. "Can I hold her?" Lily asked, voice hushed like they were in church. Emily blinked. You don't mind? Lily shook her head, scooted closer, and Emily carefully transferred baby Grace into her arms. Lily's whole face softened. "Hi, Grace," she whispered. "I'm your friend." The baby hiccuped, and then sank into the warm lull of a child's heartbeat. Something in Emily's shoulders released just a fraction. Daniel set a plate of toast and scrambled eggs on the coffee table. "Eat," he said, not as an order, but as the first sensible step in a night that had gone sideways. Emily stared at the food like it might disappear. "Thank you," she managed. The first bite hit her like electricity. She tried to hide how fast she was eating, but hunger betrayed her. "Slow," Daniel said with a faint smile. "There's more if you want it. I don't want to take advantage." "You're not," he said. "You're being human." Silence stretched again. Emily cleared her throat. "You asked why I was afraid you'd call the police," she murmured. I was married. Not anymore." Her eyes flicked to Lily, then back. "He wasn't a good man. Not at first, not at last." Daniel didn't press. He just listened. It unnerved her. Most people wanted a headline, a reason good enough to justify kindness. He seemed to think her breathing qualified. "We had a place," she continued. "Nothing fancy but ours. Then he lost his job and I picked up shifts at a diner. It got dark. Words first, then holes in the wall, then plates." She stared at her hands. "When I got pregnant, I thought, stupidly, that Grace would save us. She didn't. That wasn't her job." Lily looked up from the baby, brow furrowed. "Did he hurt you?" she asked, small but fierce. Emily's voice went gentle. "We're safe now." Daniel's jaw tightened, something old and private flashing behind his eyes. "Do you have somewhere you trust? A friend? Family?" "My mom's in Ohio," Emily said. "We haven't spoken since a long time. Pride can be expensive. The few friends I had didn't stick around when things got messy." She gave a humorless breath. "I left 2 weeks after Grace was born. I thought I could find work fast, any work. But you can't get hired when you look like you're sleeping on buses. I started skipping meals to stretch formula. Then I ran out of choices." Daniel nodded once. "You have choices tonight," he said. "You're here." At that, Emily broke. She pressed her knuckles to her mouth and cried quiet, exhausted tears that had been building like pressure behind her ribs. Lily watched for a second, then scooted forward and set her small hand on Emily's knee. "We can share," she said. "We always share." Daniel rose. "I'll grab a spare room ready," he said, and disappeared down the hall. The simple sound of a closet door sliding open and sheets being shaken, mundane domesticity, worked like a balm. When he returned, his expression had its usual composure, but Emily caught the tightness again. "You can stay tonight," he said. "Tomorrow we can figure out next steps. A doctor should look at Grace, not because something's wrong, but because newborns deserve proper checkups. We can also replace what you need. No strings." Emily flinched at the last words. "There are always strings." "I know," he said softly, "which is why I said it out loud." She studied him. The suit, the soft-spoken confidence, the tidy penthouse. He didn't match any of her life's usual patterns. Kindness from men had always felt like a transaction or a test. This felt like a decision he made at the same speed he'd stop at a red light. "Why did you pull over?" she asked. Daniel hesitated. "When Lily was 3, he said. We spent a night on a hospital couch. It wasn't life or death, but it felt like it. A nurse noticed I hadn't eaten. She left her post to bring me a sandwich, and she said, 'Your daughter needs a steady father, and that means you have to keep your hands from shaking. I never forgot it. He glanced at Emily. Sometimes a sandwich is a bridge back to being steady. Lily's eyes went glossy. I like that nurse, she decided. I do too, Emily whispered. The apartment settled deeper into quiet. The storm outside moved farther down the river, leaving the city rinsed and reflective. Lily eventually nodded off with Grace asleep on her chest, 2 little moons breathing in tandem. Emily reached to move the baby. Daniel gently stopped her. They're okay, he murmured. Let them have this. Where should I? I'll show you. He led her to a spare room done in calm blues. Crisp sheets, a folded towel, a brand new pack-and-play unfolded by the window like he'd planned for guests with infants all his life. He hadn't. He'd pulled it out of a box still on the floor. The inked barcode strip hadn't even been peeled fully. You don't have to buy. It came with the house. He lied badly. She caught the Amazon tape curled near the trash and smiled. A small, grateful surrender. She hovered near the door. I'm afraid if I sleep, I'll wake up and this will be gone. It won't, he said. Lock the door if you need to. I'll be right outside. She studied his face again. Tired lines at the eyes, a bruise-like crescent of stress under the skin. You look like you're carrying something too, she said before she could stop herself. His mouth tugged at one corner. Every parent carries something. He paused. I don't get everything right. Lily's mom passed when she was little. I've been trying to be both parents and a CEO ever since. Some days I set dinner on fire and we eat cereal. Some days I forget picture day. Tonight we did okay. You did more than okay. He brushed it away with a hand. Sleep. Emily lay on a bed that cradled her like a wave. She didn't so much fall asleep as tip into it. For the first time in months, she dreamed of nothing. She woke to bird song and the faint clatter of a pan. For a second, panic surged, the old reflex. Then she saw the ceiling fan, the blue walls, the pack-and-play where Grace slept, belly full and content. Tears pricked, softer this time. She washed her face, found a simple cotton dress folded on the dresser with the tag still on, her size somehow, and stepped into the hall. Lily was at the kitchen island, swinging her legs, supervising. We're making pancakes, she announced. Daddy always makes them too thick, but we love him anyway. I heard that, Daniel said without turning, flipping a pancake with comic solemnity. He wore a faded college hoodie and looked less like a CEO than a dad who had exactly 20 minutes before carpool. I can help, Emily said quickly, skirting the line between eagerness and fear of doing wrong in someone else's space. You're our guest, Daniel replied. But if you'd like to pour syrup critic reviews, we accept those. Emily laughed, an unfamiliar sound in her own mouth. She took a plate, and the first bite tasted like a blank page. After breakfast, Daniel placed a folder on the table. Okay, he said, gentle but organized. 2 tracks, immediate and long-term. Immediate, pediatric check for Grace, fresh supplies, a prepaid phone in your name, no link to anything that can be used against you. Long-term, safe housing, and a job. Emily froze at the word. I haven't exactly got a resume that screams success. Daniel shrugged. Success starts different for everyone. He glanced toward a glass door that led to a small office. Carter Robotics runs a foundation that places people returning to the workforce. We can start there. Her ears caught up. Carter, Robotics, she repeated slowly. You're Daniel, he said, not unkindly. Just Daniel. I saw a news clip once, she murmured. You were the guy who donated those prosthetic arms to the kids' hospital. His cheeks colored. That was the team. I just signed things. Lily shot him a look that said she knew better. Then she leaned toward Emily and stage whispered, "He pretends he's not a hero. It's his thing." Emily blinked at the word hero, like it belonged to another universe. Daniel checked his watch. "Doctor first, then we'll stop by the office, if you're comfortable." She stiffened. "Your office?" "Daniel, people will see me." "People will see a mother taking care of her child," he corrected. "And they'll see a CEO who means what he says about community. If anyone has a problem with decency, that's a performance review issue." In the elevator, Emily watched their reflection. Her new dress, hair still damp from a shower, eyes less haunted. Lily with her backpack. Daniel with a diaper bag slung over one shoulder like he'd been born doing it. When the doors opened to the lobby, the concierge glanced up, surprised, then smiled at Lily. "Good morning, Miss Carter." He clocked Emily without judgment, just a professional nod. Emily inhaled. It was a small mercy that felt enormous. At the pediatric clinic, the nurse cooed over Grace's tiny fingers and pronounced her healthy but in need of consistent warmth, nutrition, and rest. "You're doing better than you think," she told Emily. "You got her here." By the time they reached Carter Robotics, the morning sun had polished the city. The headquarters rose in glass and steel, the lobby a cathedral of light. Emily braced for stares and whispers. She got smiles. Lily led the way like a small ambassador, introducing "our friend Emily" to anyone who looked their direction. In the elevator up, Daniel glanced sideways. "You okay?" "I don't belong here," she said, honest. "You belong anywhere you choose to stand," he said. The doors opened on a floor of buzzing energy. Engineers with laptops, strategy teams halfway to a whiteboard epiphany. A woman in a forest green blazer approached, 30s, composed warmth. "Morning, Daniel," she said. Then to Lily, "You must be in charge." Lily nodded gravely. The woman grinned and turned to Emily. "I'm Ava Flores, Chief People Officer." Emily startled. Hi. Ava lowered her voice. "Daniel asked me to set up a private room for you and the baby today. No pressure. Also a meeting with our foundation coordinator, if you're open." Emily looked from one face to the other. This was a lot. Kindness, but not a performative dose. Systems, scaffolding, visible hands reaching out. "Why are you all doing this?" she whispered, not suspicious, just overwhelmed. Ava's eyes softened. "Because once, years ago, I sat in a lobby with a suitcase too," she said. "Daniel dragged me in by the elbow and offered coffee. I figured I'd stay a month. I'm still here." Daniel shrugged like he couldn't help himself. "It's a recruitment strategy," he said lightly. A commotion rose from the far side of the floor, an anxious cluster near a glass conference room. Someone murmured, "The pilot failed again?" And another voice snapped, "We're going to miss the demo." Daniel's posture changed. He looked toward the chaos, then back to Emily and Lily. "Give me 20 minutes, he said gently. "Make yourselves at home. Ava, can you—" "I've got them," Ava said. As he moved into the fray, the team parted around him instinctively. He didn't bark. He asked rapid, precise questions, rolled up his sleeves, and got his hands on the problem. Wires, code, a prototype that stubbornly refused to wake. Emily watched through the glass, surprised to see the same man who made pancakes also coax brilliance out of anxious adults. Ava nudged her. "It's like watching someone defuse a bomb and bake a pie at the same time," she said. "Ridiculous, but useful. Within minutes, the energy shifted from frantic to focused. Daniel stepped back, tapped a key, and the model's small motors hummed to life. Applause broke out. He deflected it, pointed to the junior engineer who'd offered the unassuming fix, and clapped for her instead. Emily felt something stir she hadn't felt in months. Possibility. Not the lottery ticket kind, but the slow, real kind that grows in ordinary rooms when decent people decide to act. Lily tugged her sleeve. "See?" she said. "Told you he's a hero." Emily looked down at Grace sleeping in her arms and let herself imagine a future not built from fear. She wasn't naive. There would be hard days ahead. Phone calls she dreaded, paperwork, the long work of healing. But there was also this. A child who believed in sharing. A CEO who remembered a nurse with a sandwich. A hallway where doors opened. "Okay," she said, more to herself than anyone. "Let's see what tomorrow looks like." By noon, sunlight spilled through the glass walls of Carter Robotics like liquid gold. The storm that had soaked the city last night was nothing but memory now, its puddles glimmering on the streets below. Emily stood at the floor-to-ceiling window holding baby Grace, watching Daniel talk with a group of engineers. The way they looked at him, focused, respectful, trusting, reminded her that leadership didn't always need a raised voice. Sometimes it was calm conviction that people followed. But her own reflection in the glass caught her breath. The tired woman who'd crouched under a streetlight just 12 hours ago looked different. The borrowed dress framed her shoulders. Her hair was brushed and faintly shining. Even her eyes looked alive again. She rocked Grace gently, whispering, "You're safe, my little miracle." Behind her, Ava's voice interrupted softly. "You look like you're remembering how to breathe." Emily smiled faintly. It's been a while since life felt breathable. Ava came to stand beside her. "When I first met Daniel, I thought he was just another overworked CEO with a guilt complex. Turns out he actually means what he says about helping people." She tilted her head. "You could stay here for a few weeks, until you figure out what's next." Emily shook her head instantly. "I can't live off his kindness. He's done too much already." "Kindness isn't debt," Ava said. "It's a bridge." Before Emily could respond, Daniel's voice echoed from across the floor. "Ava, Emily, come see this." They crossed the office toward him. In the center of the conference table was a small, lightweight arm, metallic yet elegant, like art fused with purpose. "This," Daniel said, "is our new prosthetic model. Fully functional, lightweight, and designed for people who can't afford top-tier tech." He looked at Emily. "It's why I started the foundation, to give people a second chance." Emily studied it. "It's beautiful." "Not yet," he said, smiling, "but it will be." Lily appeared beside him, holding a half-empty cup of chocolate milk, her hair now tied into two uneven ponytails. "Daddy, Miss Ava said we're having lunch with everyone in the cafeteria," she announced, her voice proud. "Can Emily and Grace come?" Daniel looked at Emily. "Only if you're up for it." She hesitated. "I don't exactly look corporate." Lily tugged her hand. "You look kind. That's better." That made Daniel laugh quietly. Hard to argue with that. The cafeteria buzzed with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of plates. It wasn't the sterile company mess Emily had imagined. It felt more like a family reunion. People teasing each other, trading stories, offering extra fries. When she walked in with Lily and Daniel, heads turned, but not the way she feared. Smiles bloomed. A few people waved, and Lily proudly announced to anyone listening, "This is my friend Emily. She's staying with us for now. Emily flushed. Lily, sweetheart. It's okay, Daniel murmured. Let them know. You're not a secret. They sat down at a table near the window. Emily watched as Lily shared her fries with another kid whose mother worked in HR. Grace slept peacefully in her car seat beside them. You know, Daniel said between bites. When Lily was born, I promised her mom I'd raise her to see people for who they are, not where they came from. Looks like she's holding me accountable. Emily smiled. She's extraordinary. She gets it from her mother, he said softly. There was warmth in his tone, but also loss. Emily looked down at her cup. You still miss her? Every day, he admitted. But missing someone and moving forward aren't opposites. They just coexist. Something in his honesty disarmed her. You make it sound simple. He gave a quiet laugh. It's not. But it helps to have purpose. After her death, I threw myself into work. Thought building machines would fill the silence. It didn't. People did. The words hung between them, fragile but real. Across the room, an employee approached their table. Mid-30s, polished, polite smile. Mr. Carter, she said, the investors' lunch has been moved up to 2. They're already in the conference suite. Daniel nodded. Thanks, Amanda. But when the woman's eyes landed on Emily, her smile faltered. And this is Emily Brooks, Daniel said evenly. A friend of mine, and someone I think the foundation can help. Amanda blinked. Of course, she said, but her polite tone carried a note of judgment. She turned and walked off quickly. Emily lowered her eyes, embarrassed. I shouldn't be here. People will talk. Let them, Daniel replied calmly. If compassion ruins my reputation, it wasn't worth much anyway. For a second, she couldn't speak. That afternoon, Daniel was called into meetings. Ava took Lily and Grace to the daycare area while Emily sat in a quiet lounge near the window, filling out a few forms for the foundation program. Her pen paused at the line marked previous address. She stared at the blank space for a long time, then wrote simply, no fixed residence. Her chest tightened, but for once it didn't feel like defeat. It felt like honesty. She was still writing when Daniel's voice came from behind her. How's it going? She turned, startled. You're back already? He smiled. Meetings ended early. Investors love the prototype. They're funding 3 new labs. He noticed the forms. Need help with those? I can manage, she said, though her handwriting trembled. I just haven't filled out paperwork like this in a while. Makes it feel real, you know? That I'm actually starting over. That's the point, he said gently. Real is good. Just then, Lily burst through the door, out of breath. Daddy, guess what? Miss Ava said we're going to donate all the old baby things to other moms who need them. Can we give them to Emily first? Daniel raised a brow. That was your idea, wasn't it? Lily grinned. Maybe. Emily laughed, wiping her eyes quickly. You're raising an angel, Daniel. He shook his head. She's teaching me more than I'm teaching her. Grace stirred in her car seat, letting out a soft cry. Emily leaned down to lift her, and Daniel instinctively reached out to help. Their hands brushed, warm, steady, lingering just a second too long. She pulled back quickly, cheeks coloring. Sorry, she muttered. Don't be, he said. You're doing fine. The tone in his voice was so genuine it made her chest ache. By evening, the office had quieted. Most employees had gone home. Daniel walked Emily and Lily out to the parking lot. The sky was painted in sunset amber, streaked with lavender clouds. Where will you go tonight? He asked. Emily hesitated. You've already done enough. I can't stay another night. You can, he said firmly. The guest room is still yours until you find your footing. I don't want to be Charity. He smiled faintly. Then don't be. Think of it as partnership. Partnership? Helping people like you helps Lily see the world right, he said simply. And it reminds me why I started this company. So, yes, partnership. She swallowed hard. You really don't give people a chance to feel unworthy, do you? That's the goal. They stood there in the fading light, silent for a moment. A distant siren wailed, traffic humming softly in the distance. Grace's tiny fingers clutched Emily's collar. All right, Emily said finally. One more night. Good, Daniel said. I was going to cook anyway. Lily insists my pasta's edible this time. From the back seat, Lily protested, It's great pasta, Daddy. They all laughed, the kind of laugh that felt like home, sneaking back in after being gone too long. Later that night, Emily stood on the balcony of the penthouse. The city lights glittered below, and for once the cold didn't bite. It comforted. Daniel joined her quietly, holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa. For you, he said. No coffee this late. Thank you. She took the mug, watching steam curl into the air. You ever wonder why some people cross paths when they do? Every day, he said. I used to think life was about timing. Now I think it's about choice. We can't control the storms, but we can decide who we pull out of them. Emily turned toward him, eyes reflecting the city's light. You don't even know how much you've changed my life in just one day. Daniel shook his head. I didn't change it. You did. You chose to knock down your pride and accept help. That's harder than anything I've ever built. The words hit deeper than she expected. Grace let out a sleepy coo from the bassinet near the balcony door. Emily smiled, whispering, She'll grow up in a different world because of you. Daniel looked at the baby, then back at her. No, he said softly, because of you. A long silence followed, comfortable, peaceful. Emily took a deep breath, tasting the crisp night air. For the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. And in that moment, as the lights of New York shimmered below and Lily's laughter drifted from the next room, she realized something. Kindness wasn't weakness. It was power. Quiet, unshakable, and life-changing. The kind of power that rebuilt souls.